Thank you to everybody for coming out today. We have a very special event. As you know, we're going to be talking about being creative. We all like to think that we are, and a lot of us like to think we're going to pay our rent being creative. So we were really excited through our work at the YoungARTS Foundation. We were introduced to this documentary filmmaker who's traveling the world, interviewing the most amazing people who have done the most amazing things for a very long time. What we're going to do for Stephen today is watch a rough cut of his short documentary, and then he really wants to talk to you about what you think about the film. So feel free to fill out these focus group cards and just really help him as he continues to edit the piece. And then we're going to take the themes of the film and move on, and he'll describe a little bit more about that. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Stephen Fischer. Let's have a hand for him.
The movie, Old School, New School, is a study on creativity and what creativity is and how people can reach their full creative potential. It's explored through a series of conversations. I don't even like to call them interviews. They're conversations with master storytellers in dance and theater and literature and cinema across the board, all disciplines, talking about things like finding your own voice, taking risks, defining success in the arts. All these things that we as storytellers, I think, need to think about, and probably subconsciously, if not consciously, think about, but getting a wide range of perspectives. And along those lines, after we finish the screening, we will bring up a panel of 5 incredible storytellers who will then continue the discussion from the movie. This is where you come in. While you're watching the movie, think about questions you want to ask these panelists. And I'm going to wait. I'll introduce them when the time comes. But think about the questions related to how you find your own voice, how you develop your individuality, what success is in the arts. And hopefully we'll get a big running dialogue going about creativity and how we all can reach our full creative potential.
When those risks fall flat, talking about the rebounding and what you learn from the failure of a risk.
What do you learn from the failure of a risk? When a risk goes bad, I'll throw it out.
Have you guys had any failures?
I've never failed.
I have a bunch of really, really big failures. And I've always thought it's an interesting question about risk because a lot of people talk about it and very few do it. It's kind of a word that's bandied around in art, but my feeling is that if you don't risk being actually bad, and if you aren't occasionally really bad, you will never ever grow as an artist. I really do think that you have to. You have to actually fail, and once you fail, my failures teach me much, much more than my successes. My successes simply show me how to stay the same.
Some of the best advice I ever got was from an art teacher in high school, and he told me that until you have a wall of rejection slips, you're not going to have made it. Now that's not really true, because otherwise you have this wall and you're like, it's 3/4, I'm almost there. But it's an idea that you kind of have to be ready for that much rejection, and to be an artist, it's going to happen no matter who you are. There's going to be because you're learning the whole time. There's no just suddenly you're Picasso. Even Picasso himself had a learning curve. He was not who he was, and he kept redeveloping himself. But the thing is that you have to be ready to be rejected. I personally, when I started on The Simpsons as an animator in '91, I had a huge failure. I worked as an animator the entire year, and it was like, oh, I'm working on this exciting new show, and at the end of the year, they said, you're fired. I was like, what? I'm fired? Everybody was smiling at me every day. What the hell happened? And so for me, I was like, I had moved to LA for this job, and it was, I was devastated. But I said, screw it. I'm going to do this. This is why I'm here, and I'm going to do this. And I started taking classes at the union, and I learned how to draw better. And I went and I actually started writing, and I did a couple of films, one for MTV. And I went back, and they rehired me. I just said, I'm going to learn to draw The Simpsons better than anybody. And then I did it. And within like 3 years, I was made a director. And it's just a lot. Sometimes it comes down to just saying, we're all going to fail. It's what we do with it.
rejection and failure are all temporary states, because the truth is, if I write a script and I send it out and you know, you don't want to do it, that doesn't mean it's not going to get done. That doesn't mean the story's over. It just means I need to find somebody else. So you don't stop at your first rejection or your first no. Or if you're lucky enough to get feedback as to why it wasn't accepted, and it's a taste issue, and you either realize that this person doesn't have the same taste as you, and that's why it's not working, or there are significant story points or emotional points that you think are coming across that aren't, then you address those, and then you get to send it to somebody else, or possibly send it back to you if you're interested enough to read again. So there's never a end-all be-all until you've decided that you're done.
So there's one other thing that in Hollywood particularly is that there's an incredible turnover in people. And every 6 months, there's all new people there. So your bad script this month, you can take the same company, it'll be 10 other people look at it, and they'll look at it in a different way. Nobody looks at anything exactly the same way that you do. And you cannot try and look at it like everybody. That's a fool's errand there. You have to do it for yourself and trust your own judgment. And that's how I look at it anyway. I don't see there's any other way to go.
How do you cope with it?
How do I cope with the failure?
Yeah, you personally.
I stopped sleeping. Drugs. No, honestly, it's, you know, you do your best not to take it personally. That's all you can do. And remind yourself that you have something that the world will eventually want you for. Hopefully everybody in this room will have that, and that you'll keep the faith long enough that you don't end up giving up, because that's not an option.